Welcome to Capitol Catch-Up, your deep dive into the latest action from the halls of Congress. I am Victor.
And I am Lainey. Today, we are unpacking a robust slate of legislative proposals, committee meetings, and executive nominations that could reshape everything from small business protections to artificial intelligence security and food access in America.
Let us start with a major focus on Capitol Hill right now, which is small business oversight and reform. There are several key bills targeting the Small Business Administration. First up is House Bill 8882, also known as the Main Street Competes Act. This bill amends the Small Business Economic Policy Act of 1980 to ramp up antitrust oversight.
Right, Victor. It requires the Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission to submit biennial reports to the Small Business Administration Office of Advocacy. They have to detail their efforts to fight anti-competitive behavior and illegal mergers that hurt small businesses. The Chief Counsel for Advocacy will then package this data into a report for Congress with recommendations. It is all about making sure small businesses can actually compete on a level playing field.
Speaking of the Small Business Administration, technology is also a big focus. House Bill 8881, the SBA Artificial Intelligence Utilization Act of 2026, mandates annual reports and briefings on how the agency uses artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Yes, it requires the agency to evaluate both the benefits and the risks of artificial intelligence, specifically emphasizing that humans must remain in the loop for decision-making. We are also seeing a push for accountability regarding pandemic-era funds. House Bill 826, the COVID Fraud Transparency Act of 2026, requires the Small Business Administration Inspector General to provide quarterly reports for the next 2 years on fraud related to COVID-19 relief loans, detailing the volume, dollar amounts, and specific types of fraud identified. And notably, it stipulates that no additional federal funds will be used to generate these reports.
Accountability is a major theme across many of these bills. House Bill 4238, the Disaster Loan Accountability and Reform Act, aims to tighten oversight on the disaster loan program. It requires monthly updates on funding levels and detailed justifications for budget requests compared to 10-year averages. If the agency misses these reporting deadlines, the bill actually imposes penalties, like suspending official travel funds. It also directs the Government Accountability Office to study loan disbursement rates and recent regulatory impacts.
That is a serious enforcement mechanism. We also have House Bill 8880, the Small Business Cybersecurity Assistance Evaluation Act of 2026, which directs the Comptroller General to study how effective and accessible federal cybersecurity resources are for small businesses. It is designed to help them identify cyber threats and secure the capital needed to protect themselves.
And then there is House Bill 8879, the Oversight and Transparency for Small Business Certifications Act of 2026. This requires annual reports on federal contracting certifications, tracking processing times, and application metrics, particularly for businesses owned by service-disabled veterans, women, and those in historically underutilized business zones.
Finally, for small business, House Bill 7396 is the Native American Entrepreneurial Opportunity Act. This would establish a formal Office of Native American Affairs within the Small Business Administration, led by an assistant administrator. It aims to boost access to capital and training in Indian country and for Native Hawaiian organizations. This office would have a 7-year sunset provision and must conduct regular tribal consultations.
Shifting gears from small business to financial regulations, let us talk about House Bill 9329, the SEC Reform and Restructuring Act. This is a major proposal that would require the Securities and Exchange Commission to perform rigorous cost-benefit analyses for new regulations and justify rules based on net benefits.
It also requires semi-annual congressional testimony, a Government Accountability Office audit of the agency's cybersecurity, and a minimum public comment period. But perhaps the biggest structural change is that it would dissolve the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, transferring its duties to a new Office of Public Accounting Oversight directly within the Securities and Exchange Commission.
On the security and technology front, we have House Bill 9363, the AI Security and Innovation Act. This amends the National Artificial Intelligence Initiative Act of 2020 to set up a Center for AI Security and Innovation within the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It authorizes $20 million annually through fiscal year 2032 to measure security risks and develop voluntary standards for frontier systems, though it explicitly has no regulatory or enforcement power.
Let us look at how some of these bills impact everyday Americans. House Bill 9384, the Stephen Wira Able Act, updates the original 2014 Act. It raises the financial threshold for ABLE savings accounts that are excluded from Supplemental Security Income Resource calculations to $150,000 for 2026, with annual inflation adjustments after that. This is huge because it allows individuals with disabilities to save more money without losing their essential federal benefits.
Absolutely. Another crucial bill for vulnerable populations is House Bill 9359, the Ending Stolen SNAP Benefits Act of 2026. It directs the Secretary of Agriculture to establish regulations for states to identify and replace stolen Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, like those lost to card skimming, while minimizing the burden on victims. It also offers to cover 90% of state administrative costs to transition from old magnetic stripe cards to secure, chip-enabled cards.
And to tackle food insecurity directly, House Bill 9378, the Grocery Affordability Act, introduced by Representatives Vindman and McKenzie, proposes a 30% tax credit capped at $500,000 annually for businesses that build or renovate grocery stores in designated food deserts.
For our veterans, House Bill 9379, the Affordable Homes for Veterans Act of 2026, aims to streamline the home loan assumption process. It mandates that loan servicers decide on complete applications within 45 calendar days and tasks the Veterans Affairs Inspector General with investigating any compliance issues or unfair underwriting standards.
In agriculture, we have House Bill 9377, the Protecting America's Herds Act. This establishes a competitive grant program under the Secretary of Agriculture to fund cooperative extension services for training, livestock inspections, and technical assistance to prepare for and manage New World screwworm outbreaks.
And finally, on the commemorative front, House Bill 9156, the Tiananmen Square Memorial Act of 2026, introduced by Representative Ogles, proposes renaming a section of International Place Northwest in Washington, D.C., to Tiananmen Square Memorial Boulevard, specifically changing the address of 3505 International Place Northwest to 1 Tiananmen Square Memorial Boulevard.
Now let us turn to the executive branch and some notable nominations. For the State Department, Michael Vance is nominated to be an Assistant Secretary of State for Intelligence and Research. Darrell Owens has been nominated to be the United States Representative to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, with the rank of Ambassador.
In other departments, William Hague is nominated to be an Assistant Secretary of the Interior, and Kevin Lilly is nominated to be the Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife. Kaveh Farzad is nominated to be an Assistant Secretary of Energy for International Affairs. We also have Roger Mason nominated to be the Director of the National Reconnaissance Office, Carl Bednarski to the Farm Credit Administration Board, and Michael Chamberlain to be the Director of the Office of Government Ethics.
On the judicial side, John George Edward Mark is nominated to be a United States District Judge for the Southern District of Texas. And there is a long list of nominees for Associate Judge of the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, including Sharon E. Goody, Christopher Michael DeBano, Michael Christopher DiLorenzo, Christine Michelle Macy, John Barlow Timmer, and Craig Edward Lean.
Many of these nominations are moving through committees. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee recently held hearings for several State Department nominees, including Barbara Thornhill to be Director of the Office to Monitor and Combat Trafficking, John Hurley to be Representative to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Keith Noreka as Ambassador to Lithuania, Joseph Burkhalter as Ambassador to Moldova, and Stanley Brown as Ambassador to Equatorial Guinea.
Meanwhile, the House Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Health scheduled a markup of 15 bills on June 25th.
Before we wrap up, let us look at the congressional record from June 22, 2026. This session focused on routine administrative business, including designating a Speaker pro tempore and introducing new legislation.
Right, some of the new bills introduced that day covered the impact of artificial intelligence in the workplace, modifications to the Nexus border application process, tax regulations for financial institutions, adjustments to able account limits, and even labeling requirements for lab-created butter. They also processed executive communications regarding aviation safety directives and labor reporting requirements.
That brings us to what we should watch out for next. Keep an eye on the House Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Health to see which of those 15 bills advance.
And watch for how the Senate votes on those key ambassadorial and judicial nominations we discussed today. That is all for today's Capital Catch-Up. Thank you for listening.
We will see you next time.